week since the last video. Couple of reasons really. Obviously waiting for stuff to come through from Amazon and eBay, whatever, for chemicals and materials, but also had a problem with the videos themselves. So first of all, my phone, which I do all the recording on, gets full, runs out of memory, so I try and upload that onto the computer, which is full out of memory. So I've cleared all that out and saved all them in other places and so on, and then I try and upload all that stuff once I've got it onto my PC onto iMovie, an Apple app, and that's saying there's not enough room, and there's 60 odd gig, which is quite a lot, and who knows what Apple have done in various uploads or whatever, but I've cleared out everything within the app. Doesn't want to have it, so I haven't quite got to the bottom of that yet. Been on to Apple with a chat to try and resolve that. Hopefully we'll get that sorted soon. But anyway, let's carry on with the custom seat. Okay, the seat. Going to continue with the seat. Before I do any more work on the tailpiece, I was reasonably pleased, I think, with the line there, but I have second thoughts. It's been on the bike. I've been doing other stuff on the bike, bits and pieces, but I think I'm not in love with that curve on the back. So what I'm going to do is level it off so that it's parallel-ish with this and not in keeping with that. So something along the lines of that, just to make it look a little bit lower profile, I think, at the back. And yeah, gonna give that a try. So what I'm doing is, as far as possible, I've done a centre line and just sort of gridding it off so that I can just take it square to the seat and not lopsided one side or the other. But yeah, just to help as an aid, if you like, to get it as straight and flat. So when I take this top section off here, it's then a case of, I think, blending it so that there's not a step and a sort of step curve. So it's just I think a case of just trying to maintain a nice gentle curve around there. Right, thank you to Posty. Resin die pack arrived today, so that's good. So I can start work doing the LED tailpiece. So I'm using some frog tape, and I'm putting 3 coats of frog tape on. Yes, 3 coats of frog tape on, because what I'm going to do is I'm using this, in effect, to build up the tiniest amount around the edge of the holes that I've cut, in order to, when I pour the resin in, I'm going to cut these holes out and then put some clear acetate over the top. And what I'm hoping is going to happen is that these 3 layers of frog tape will raise the edge up, allowing the resin to come through by a mil, half a mil, whatever, just a little, so that I can then polish it flat with wet and dry. Never done this before, but it seemed like a good idea. I'm using frog tape because it sort of seals better around the edge. It's just masking tape but better quality. This could all go horribly wrong. I could leave the resin in, spray it with a chin primer, sand it down and spray it. No one will ever know. Apart from those that watch YouTube. I can always bolt a light on underneath like everybody else does. Perhaps I should say at this point, thank you to everyone who put their comments on the last video. Not to everybody's taste, I guess, this backlight, but it's not for everybody. But appreciate the feedback anyway. My brother thinks that it's facing too upright and it's only going to be lighting up the sky, that nobody will be able to see it from the back anyway. But I think, and he might be right, but it is on a bike lift, it's on a centre stand, and the rear shock's not compressed at all, and it's got to cope with my slight frame, so I think it will be a lot flatter and a lot lower obviously, so I'm hoping that it will meet the design requirements, if you like, to be a brake light. If it doesn't, it's back to plan B again. Okay, so I've got my green frog tape on here to build up the level, and now I've just put some double-sided tape on, and again cut the holes around, and what I'm trying to do is, in a minute I'll peel that covering off, and this is a piece of plastic laminating pouch that you put photographs in or whatever, so just one of the 2 layers, and I'm going to stick that on top of that like that, seal it around the edges, and basically that will form, the resin will sit up against that and allow me then to peel that off later and just leave a sort of reasonably smooth resin. So I'm not saying this is the absolute way of doing it. How would I know? But it's just the way I'm doing it, so it'll be interesting to see whether it works, and it'll also be interesting to see whether the resin all seeps out and makes a right mess of everything, because I've got to leave it, I think, 24 hours to harden, but I'm just going to cut that to size, stick it on. is that I'm just going to create a little raised area out of something like blue tack, if it sticks well enough. Hopefully it will, so that I can get a nice finished effect on there. Right, that's not working. The blue tack, which is just like sort of sticky plasticine really, is not sticking to the fiberglass. It's got etching primer on it, so it's the paint's just sort of coming away a little bit. It's just not adhering. So I think what I'm going to try, it's a bit more messy, is just to run a bead of silicone around there, and then just let that cure. Hopefully that will be quite adhesive and that will do the job. Right, I'm just going to let that cure now. So that's just grey silicone sealant, and I've created a little wall of which I'm then going to pour in the silicone, the resin into. So yeah, can't really do anything, can't rush these things. So I'll come back to that. 24 hours later, and the silicone is cured, and it's a little bit rubbery, which is okay, but it's got a good seal against the fiberglass. So my resin, which I'm going to mix up at 100% and 40% of the hardener. I also have my resin dye, which is in liquid form with a little dropper, and I guess I should be mixing it up several different combinations to see what the best solution is in terms of the colouring. But if I have it too dark, obviously the red LED is not going to show through, it'll be non-effective as a brake light. And if it's not dark enough, it will look too clear, and you may even be able to see all the wiring and the LED behind. So I'm just going to kind of wing it. If it looks really, really trashy, I'll have to either dig it all out and do it again, or if it just doesn't work very well, then I'll have to just dig it out, fill over it, rub it down, and come up with something different. So, no time like the present. I'm going to measure it out. So I've got my kitchen scales covered in cling film. I'm going to do it by weight, and I need some rubber gloves. So basically it says I've used 100 grams of resin, 40 grams of hardener, and then I used, mixing it up, 10 drops of resin colour. And it looks very dark, but only slightly grey against the stick. I don't know whether you can see that. So obviously it's not going to be 50mm thick, so I'm not sure how dark that's going to be. It's kind of I might try another 5 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're saying it should be at room temperature, and you need to mix it for 3 minutes, and then you need to take it out of one container and put it into another. The reason being is in that way you won't have any unmixed stuff around the edge, or in this case in the bottom of the flute, if you can just see that down there. So that's probably a good 5 minutes. So I'll give it another minute or so of stirring, and then we can just pour it in. It takes 24 hours to set. It's very, I don't know, is it very viscous? I can't remember. Or is viscosity a measurement, but not specific. So yeah, it's very runny. There are some bubbles in it, but it does say that the bubbles will, using their technology, will actually just fizz out and leave a perfectly clear effect resin. So I think that will do it for the minute. And so it's just really a case of gently, I probably mixed way too much, but what I didn't want to do is have to go back and mix some more and then the two be slightly different colours, or they didn't actually sort of bond as one. So I need to just prop that back up a little bit to get it as level as I can. Let's not knock that over, that would be a bit tragic. And it's got to stay like this for 24 hours. So let's pour it in. This is of course where it runs all out from underneath the silicone. And I'm left with a disaster to clear up. We shall see. Ah, damn. Tipped it out. Oh, yeah. Put too much in. Tipped it out everywhere. And that may cause me a real problem with being able to slide it onto the seat base. It's so runny. Right. Should have done it much more carefully than that, really. But there we are. And the last bit of paper towel as well. The curve of the towel piece is more profound than I thought, really. But hey ho, we'll just leave that. No point keep messing around with it. Yeah. We'll see how it looks. Right, not quite 24 hours later, but the next afternoon. How did it turn out? Well, one thing that really surprised me, I thought it was going to be like fiberglass resin. So a little bit gloopy, pour it in, swill it around, and it'd go off fairly quickly. It'd take 24 hours to really harden, but no, it was like water. So I hadn't really built up the silicone bead around the edge because of the curve. So it was very deep in the middle and very shallow at the sides. And I thought I'd swill it around a bit, and because it went everywhere. So I have really codded that up because it's run right into the bottom here, which of course the seat base fits into. So I don't know if that's even going to fit at the moment. And it just ran everywhere. But after about 4 hours, I thought, oh, is that set off yet? And I tilted it, and it on the inside also, it had a skin on it, which of course, as soon as I moved it, it kind of rippled and went a bit saggy, and I thought, oh my god, I've ruined it. Let's have a look. So I've peeled off the frog tape around the edge, and this is the acetate, I think it's acetate, which is held on because it's very smooth. This is the inside, which has got some form of heat adhesive on it, but I use the shiny side, and it's peeling off obviously the double-sided tape that I put around the edge to hold it on. And I have to say that's that's really quite good. So it's very dark as well. It's, for all intents and purposes, it's jet black. So time will tell whether any light is going to shine through that. And of course, because of the shape that way, it's not too bad. You know, it's a fairly flat profile, but it's obviously that way. So it's fairly consistent top to bottom, but goes much thinner side to side. Of course, the question is, did this idea of frog tape building up around the edge, just so that it raised the profile a little bit of the resin, really worked? And I'd have to say the answer to that is yes, it did. Right, so that looks all right. I don't know, you can see the reflection there. It is quite highly sort of finished, but as you can see there on the inside, you can see this sort of skinning and unevenness. So I really should have just left that 100% alone, because I think that would have dried as shiny as this side. Now, I'm not going to try it yet, but I think, because the idea being is that I will then polish this, and this has actually, I don't know if you can see, it is actually standing a little bit proud by probably 1/2 mil. It's raised probably a little bit more than I needed to, but at the same time that will allow any blemishes in that outer finish to be polished, and also because the acetate will have taken on a bit of a curve to it, it will enable me to get a perfect shape and not flattening within these, sort of taking the shortest route, if you like. So that's not too bad, and I'm hoping that with a Dremel and a little round sanding wheel, I should be able to polish some of these marks out on the inside, and also reduce the thickness on the center bit, as opposed to, I don't want to reduce it completely, although I don't think, actually, I think this is, it's so adhesive, I don't think that's ever going to rattle out, but I should be able to even it out a little bit with a curve so that it doesn't affect the light differently. So, you know, it's okay. With this, when this is all painted black, and that's also black and polished, it should, in theory, you'll see it obviously, but it should be a lot less obvious until, of course, the bakelite comes on, which is the whole purpose of this. So I'm going to try it on the bike, see whether it still fits with all this resin pulled down in the bottom of this bit here. and if it does, I'll have to wait until it is completely hardened, and then I'll use a Dremel with maybe a little cone profiled grinding disc or something, just to grind that out a little bit. Hopefully not too bad. But you know, you learn from your mistakes. There's a fair amount of finishing work. There are still a few little knocks and bangs and a little bit of resin, a few splashes, and still a few little pin marks as well. So I've got, if I continue with it, there's still a fair amount of finishing to do, but we're getting there. It's, you know, we're progressing. As I was saying, if all else fails, I can just drill it out, fill it, sand it down and paint it.